Welcome to the Costa Property Podcast, the podcast that turns your dreams of owning a piece of paradise on the Costa del Sol into reality.
I'm Warner Laurie, and I'm joined by my co-host and wife, Sandra and Warner.
If you're dreaming of your perfect Costa Del Sol home, wondering where to start, and want to get real, no-frills expert advice, then you're absolutely in the right place. So today's episode on the Costa Property Podcast, we are joined by the amazing Jill Gregory, and Jill is the Business Development Executive at Currencies Direct. So actually today's episode is really about all things currencies, where we'll be really picking Jill's brain when it comes to transferring money in and out of Spain, some of the pitfalls and traps that people can actually fall into. But stay tuned till the actual end of the episode, where Jill really dives into the incredible new services that Currencies Direct are actually offering their clients. And we can really hear from those services that they're really listening to the pain points of their clients, and they've really simplified how to do business. So I don't know about you, but I'm super impressed with the services that they offer. So that's it. Shall we jump into today's episode, Warner? So Warner, please do enlighten us with your Spanish word of the day.
Is everybody listening? The Spanish word of today is playa.
Playa. Playa is the Spanish word for beach. Thank you for sharing, Warner.
And I can't wait for the sunny weather so that I can lie in the la playa.
And snore and scare everybody around you on the sun lounger.
Maybe I'll go there at night. But
Well, if you're not careful, I might actually evict you from the house, so you'll have no choice but to go there at night. Okay, so let's jump into our conversation with the lovely Jill. So today on the Costa Property Podcast, we are joined by the lovely Jill Gregory. Great to have you, Jill.
Good morning.
hey, Jill.
For our listeners, Jill is the Business Development Executive of Currency Direct, and she will be allowing us to pick her brain through the course of today's episode, delving into the landscape of when it comes to transferring your funds, potentially in and out of Spain. Before we go into all of that, Jill, to tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. I live in Benalmádena. I live with my husband, John, and my son, Thomas. And I've worked for Currencies Direct for 21 years, helping clients move money into and out of Spain. I've worked in various offices because we have many, many offices in Spain, but even on the Costa del Sol, we have 5. Originally, I come from South Manchester, Cheadlehume, to be precise, near Manchester Airport. And I came to Spain in 2002. So I've actually been here for 22 years, and I've worked with Currencies Direct for most of that.
It's 22 years. Wow, that's a significant amount of time to be in Spain. So I can imagine you've seen a lot of changes over the years.
Yes. Lots and lots of changes in terms of the facilities that are available here on the coast now compared to when I first moved here. Yeah, it's been, time really flies. I mean, when I realised time flies more when you're having fun, and certainly in Spain, there's plenty of opportunity to have fun. So yeah, the time has flown really, really quickly.
And can I ask, 22 years ago in 2002, what was the deciding factor there? Why did you relocate?
My husband. He wasn't my husband at the time. I met him actually in Spain on holiday, and he really wanted to stay in Spain. And I actually did not want to come to Spain, believe it or not. So he convinced me, and he came to England for a year. And then I moved to Spain a year later with the intention to get out for 6 months. And then I just fell in love with it and ended up staying. So that's when I did my course and learned a bit of Spanish and took it from there. So yeah.
Amazing. Spain lures us in and we just fall
Absolutely.
in love with the culture
Absolutely.
and the way of life, right? We get sucked in. And thank you for introducing us to the background. So let's talk a little bit then about Currency Direct, and talk to me a little bit about the services that it offers people here in Spain.
Well, as a client, many people have been nervous about the transferring of large amounts of money for the security aspect. And obviously we work with the best in the UK and globally. So a broker that gives a secure service without the pitfalls of the bank charges.
And in terms of the customers that you find commonly that come to you for support, who are they? What typically situations do they find themselves in that they require your help or your services?
Well, they're generally people who are either retired and monthly pensions across, but the majority of our clients are people who are buying and selling properties here in Spain. So they're looking to buy or they're looking to sell, and they want to get their funds into or out of Spain. They're also business customers, people like yourselves, the real estate and the lawyers, and people who have clients who need our services. So they refer clients to me, or to us, because we've got a massive team, obviously. And then we look after those clients on their behalf, and it makes the whole process of buying and selling a lot simpler and a lot more cost effective.
And I would imagine that, because as you mentioned, they're usually transferring sums of money in with a view of buying a property or sums of money out potentially after selling property. I imagine there can often be quite a lot of nervousness.
Yeah. And I think we do get quite a big spectrum of age groups, especially the elderly tend to get really nervous about it. Many people get nervous about it because of all the fraud and all of that that's happening these days. And they want to know that they're with a reputable company that's been around for years and that has all the checks in place like the banks do. And then we work directly with those banks as well. So they're effectively getting the service they would from a bank because we're actually using those banks, but we're giving them a much more personal service, a much more cost-effective service, and all those checks and balances in place as well. So they know that they can trust us in terms of the security side.
As you know, obviously WL Costa Properties refer a lot of clients to your business, and a lot of questions that they're always asking, what is the customer journey?
We have various teams within Currencies Direct that lead that client through the journey the best and most efficient way. And the first thing we would do is open an account. It's a very simple process. Once they've got that account open, they can use it as many or as few times as they wish. So it might be that they don't need it for 6 months. And usually quite a lot of clients open one in advance so that when they do need to make the transfer, everything's in place. They can specify who they may want to pay. If it's a purchase, for example, and they have a long time before they're going to buy, or if it's a sale and they're looking to get the money back to the UK, we can help them to understand the movements in the rates.
Okay. And another question they always ask is how much % commission do Currency Direct charge?
Yeah, we get that a lot. And I have to explain how we work for them to understand that we don't charge a commission. Because they go, well, how do you make your money? We don't charge any fees, any charges. There's no additional charges for using our services. The way we make our money is we do the same as the banks. We buy at what's called the interbank rate, which is the wholesale price of currency. And we just make less profit than the banks do. So we make our money the same way the banks do. We just don't take as much profit as they do. So there are no charges or fees for using our services. So if you open an account and you never use it, there are no fees. If you open your account and use it 20 times, there are still no fees because you're basically getting the exchange rate that we offer. And we're just taking a small proportion of that profit. Like the banks, they just take a larger amount of profit. That's basically, does that explain things so that people will understand? Because it's a question that a lot of people ask. And yes, we don't take commissions. We don't take fees.
Tell us the benefits of being with Currency Direct rather than putting the check into a Spanish bank account.
Spain is very, very different in terms of the way it handles people's money coming into and out of Spain. It's probably one of the only countries, if not the only country, where if you send money into your own account, they charge you for it. If you put a check into your own account, they charge you for it. If you send money out of your account, they charge you for it if it's international. So any international payments in or out have charges associated. And on top of that, then they have what we call a wide margin on the big difference between what they buy and what they sell at. So that's like the profit they make on the exchange rate. So their exchange rate will be much lower than Currencies Direct exchange rate. Even though we still make profit, we just don't make as much profit as they do by a long chalk. So it means that the client gets a much better deal on the exchange rate as well as saving all the charges. So yeah, that's basically.
Okay. And another question, when they get the money, for example, I have a lot of UK clients, when they get the money from Spain to the UK, do they put it into their account or can they have it in a currency account to, look for investment to trade currencies?
We don't recommend speculation on currencies, but we do allow different wallets. So they can move monies between wallets if it makes sense for them to do that. So they can either send it to an account in the UK or wherever, because obviously we deal with multinational people. We deal with Swedish, Norwegian, etc. And they can send it to any account they want to. They can send it to an account of a family member. They can send it to their own account. They can send it to pay a bill. They can pretty much send their money anywhere they want, or they can leave it in the wallet and then they can use that money in the wallet in various ways.
Okay. And how many countries is Currency Direct in?
We have the ability to help clients in pretty much globally. Let me put it this way. any country that a bank can serve, we can serve.
And Jill, we're into February now of 2024. From your perspective, do you notice any changes in business this year compared to last year?
Yeah, I think since Brexit, there's been a massive, massive upturn in the way that banks operate and the charges that they levy and also the exchange rates that they provide. So we're seeing more demand for our services because of Brexit. The British expats that are looking to come or send money back out of Spain, the charges have increased massively and the exchange rates have become, worse. So that's definitely a trend. And there are tend to be more cash buyers these days because there's a problem with mortgages. There's not as many mortgages available. So we're getting a lot of cash buyers contacting us, sending more money because they can't get the mortgages. More Scandinavians, more Norwegians and Swedish are also looking to buy now. I don't know if you've noticed that, but we certainly have. And we've got a Norwegian and Swedish speaking team. So we support Norwegians and Swedish quite a lot.
If you had a crystal ball and you were to look at the rest of the year, what trends do you see coming for the rest of the year?
I see more buyers looking to buy, as always, businesses, but also personal properties because they're finding ways around the visa situation and they're able to look to buy. So I think the buyers will increase again this year, which will put more strain on the demand. I think there will be more people getting around the visa options of moving here permanently, but also looking to purchase properties and then when they can't use them, to rent them. So that's the other option that may come up. And I would hope, really hope, because the banks love to make money, but they are not offering mortgages at the moment. And that's one of their biggest money spinners is mortgages, but they just haven't been giving them out. So I'm hoping that might improve.
And if there was any listeners at home and they were preparing or planning a big move to Spain and they were concerned, how am I going to start handling cash transactions, transferring money? What advice would you give them already now to start to get prepared?
Yeah, it comes back to this fact that a lot of people do get nervous when they're transferring money and there are a lot of pitfalls that we've talked about with regards to receiving charges and things like that. So they are right to think about this way ahead of time. So they need to be prepared. They need to contact Currencies Direct early in their property search or when they first put their property on the market, for example. Contact us early because we can help them through the whole process. They've then got an account that they can then use when they need it. And we can, answer numerous questions. We are currency experts, but, we do try and help in any way we can with any other questions that they may have and any other concerns they may have or any questions they might have about process or the banks or anything. So we tend to be sort of like a friend in Spain once they've got an account. And we can also, if they are looking to buy or sell, keep an eye on the currency movements, which might affect the actual amount they're going to pay for the property or the actual amount they're going to yield when they sell the property. And the banks don't do that.
If we can just maybe spend a bit of time just to recap back into, from your experience, what do you see the most common pitfalls are, connected to your business in your area of expertise?
What we tend to help with a lot is this receiving charge and sending charge issue. The fact that when you send money into and out of Spain, you will always get a massive charge from the bank. If you bank a check, you'll get a massive charge. So that's one of the biggest pitfalls is to avoid that. And that's why we're set up to avoid those charges. And they can be, 1.2% of your property value. That's not including the difference in the exchange rate. That's just the charge they might charge you for banking a check or moving funds. And it varies that different banks charge different things, but it can be really quite high. And the second one is the movement in the rates, because obviously the rates are very volatile and they can move up or down in a big way. So if you have an account with us, we can keep you informed of those movements if that's what you want. And that would allow you to minimize any losses that you might incur should the rate move against you. We like to help a client in as many ways as we possibly can. So if a client wants us to watch the rates, we can. If they say, look, it's a long time off, don't contact me for 4 months, then we don't. So we basically are led by the client. We are there in all aspects of helping them.
When we started chatting, Jill, at the start of this call, you mentioned some of the new services and facilities that Currencies Direct are actually offering their customers. I'm intrigued to hear a little bit more about those. So can you share those with our listeners?
Yeah, we're always looking for the best ways to help clients and any additional facilities that we can provide that will help their service and their experience. And one of the things that we've introduced in recent years, it's not brand new, but we have introduced it in recent years, is the fact that we can actually bank client checks in our offices. So as you know, we have many, many offices here in Spain. So in those offices, we're able to bank client checks just as if we were going into a bank. It's just, we don't know, the client doesn't have to queue, or we can bank that check on behalf of the client in our offices, which is great. So normally the client will sign the back of the check, or the lawyer will sign the back of the check, and they don't even have to go into a bank. We will bank it into their account for them.
That's actually that's a great service, because I think what a lot of people may not know actually about Spain and banking, the hours are not the same as the banking services that you'd expect in the UK. The people often get caught out by the fact that they go to the bank and then they're told by the teller, sorry, you need to come back on Thursdays before 11 o'clock to bank your check. So that's a super good service. I think that's amazing that that's implemented.
The clients and the lawyers absolutely love that one, because it saves the lawyers an immense amount of time, and it saves stress. And the same with the clients. You know, they don't have to do that. They can actually give us the check, or they can come to the office themselves, whichever they prefer.
Amazing.
And the second one is, we were talking about wallets and the fact that you can hold money in the wallets. You can decide when to transfer it out and where to transfer it out. Recently, we've introduced a currency card, which allows you to actually cash out from those wallets. So you can use that currency card from service tills, and there's a very small charge. I think it's €1 charge or something to take cash out, or use that currency card to pay for things. So you can use a currency card, a bit like a debit card. As long as the funds are in your wallet, you can use it to pay for things, or you can use it to get cash out. And the third one, which is very new, checks are always a nightmare in Spain, although on most property completions, checks are involved. And so what we've noticed is, as more people come to us, sometimes we have the buyer and we have the seller who are both clients of ours. And when we have both clients, the person that's property and the person that's selling the property, then they're able to transfer the funds on the completion day between those wallets. So buyers and sellers are able to immediately transfer from the buyer's account to the seller's account, or the seller's to the buyer's account, whatever. They can transfer between their wallets, which means that the cash is immediately available. And also it means that they don't have the charges that are related. So that's called the property completion solution. And it's very, very new.
They're great services, like all three. I can completely see the convenience factor, in all three, in terms of just making life easier for your customers. Okay, so I think then my final question for today, Jill, is what do you love most about the Costa del Sol?
Wow. Well, as I said initially when I first came, I didn't actually want to move abroad. I was very much a home bird with my family. I still see a lot of my family because it's only around the corner. So they'll jump on a plane, and we spend more quality time together now than we probably did before. And I still go back to the UK. But the reason why I actually moved out here, apart from my husband, as most people say, there are two main things. One is the sunshine and the outdoor lifestyle. And then, of course, the rider on that is it's more healthy as well. So you've got the sunshine, the outdoor lifestyle, and the health aspect of it. The other side of it is the cost of living, which, you can have such a nice social life over here. You can have your own house. All those things that people value in terms of a quality of life come at a less cost here on the Costa. It does make things a little easier to live and to enjoy life.
I feel with living on the Costa del Sol as well that you have more choice. So the weather is usually good, right? Let's be honest about that. We usually have a lovely blue sky and a yellow ball of sunshine in the sky.
Yeah.
You have a choice then. You can take a picnic to the beach, or take a nice walk on the beach, stop, have a coffee along the way, which is usually cheaper than, in the UK or anywhere else in Europe. But you also have the choice, if you do want to go somewhere and treat yourself and go to a nice restaurant, you have that ability. But unfortunately, due to the weather in other parts of the world, they're not always blessed with that choice. So I think we're very lucky in that sense.
When I first moved over, I kept opening the window to see what the weather was like. And then I just realized that you don't really have to do that over here. And a lot of things that you can do here are free, because you can go for a walk. It costs nothing and it is enjoyable. And because the weather supports that, you can go to the park, you can do all sorts of things, and it doesn't cost money. And the other thing, I love travel. And being on the coast, and Spain's a massive place. So just traveling in Spain is amazing, but you have access to the rest of Europe as well.
Totally agree with that. And I love that you mentioned there about when people do come over to visit, I completely connect with what you said there, that you have more quality time with them because the weather is better. So you're spending a lot more time, outdoors, and we all know with Spain, Spanish culture is so family orientated. So it's really advocated to spend time with your family. So whether there's kids in the company or not, you're accepted in all restaurants, anywhere that you want to be outside.
Yeah. So even though I have been converted by my husband to live here, I am glad I made the move.
Yeah. Good. So Jill, for our listeners that maybe, want to contact you and start to explore the services that using a company like Currency Direct or using Currency Direct, how that could work for them, how could they reach you?
There are a couple of ways. I would say, first of all, would be my email, which is Jill with a J, Jill, .Gregory, Gregory, at Currencies Direct, all one word, plural, currencies, IES, currenciesdirect.com. So jill.gregory at currenciesdirect.com. If they want to speak to me personally, they can always ring me on my mobile, which is 627-0034 if you're outside of Spain. But if you're local, 627-253-594. Or, of course, they can contact your good selves and you can put them in contact with us. So it's very easy for them to contact you.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing the contact information. And just for anybody listening, Jill's contact details, her email will actually be in the show notes of this episode. So reference those if you would like to spark up a conversation with Jill and pick her expertise knowledge around using the services Currencies Direct offers. Jill, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge with us and our listeners. We really, really appreciate that. Have an amazing day.
And you, and thank you.
Thank you so much for listening into today's episode on the Costa Property Podcast. Another fantastic episode learning about the highs and lows of relocating to the Costa del Sol from real people who have been through the journey themselves and, of course, our wonderful experts. If you have been enjoying the show so far, remember to hit subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating or review.
We absolutely love hearing your thoughts. Please send any questions that you would like us to answer on the show to Warner at wlcostaproperties.net. Or you can pop us a message on our socials, which are in the show notes. Remember, you can also visit the website, www.wlcostaproperties.net.
See you on the next episode, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.